Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world 50 years from now. Do you hear silence or do you hear machines humming? Do you see people walking on crowded city streets or do you see families gazing at the red sky of Mars? The truth is, no one knows what the future looks like, yet every single one of us is shaping it right now through the smallest of choices. We wake up and think the world is fixed, but it is not. It is bending, changing, responding to every decision, every invention, every act of courage or fear. The future is not waiting for permission. It is rushing toward us, and the only question is whether we will ride its wave or be drowned by it. Welcome to English Story Haven, where every story is not just for listening, but for learning, for living, and for changing your life. Tonight's story is not about one person. It is not only about Elon Musk or scientists or leaders on a stage. This story is about all of us. It is about the struggle of humanity to survive, to dream, and to rise beyond the limits of today. It is about courage, failure, power, technology, and the small decisions that echo through centuries. And most importantly, it is about you, because your future depends on the choices you make right now. Let us begin at the beginning, the part of history we all take for granted. Imagine the world only 100 years ago. No smartphones, no internet, no airplanes carrying millions of people each day. Electricity itself was still being questioned. Families lit their homes with candles. If you wanted to send a message, you waited weeks for a letter. If you wanted to travel across the ocean, it took months. For thousands of years, humanity lived almost the same way: slow, fragile, limited. But then, in a blink of history, everything changed. Thomas Edison worked through the night, burning his hands, failing hundreds of times, until a fragile filament glowed with light. People mocked him. They said it would never work. The candles and gas lamps were enough. Yet today, we live surrounded by his light, forgetting the pain it cost to create. The Wright brothers, two men who fixed bicycles, built a strange wooden machine with wings. Crowds laughed when they tested it on the sands of Kitty Hawk. Every attempt ended in crashes and broken bones. But on a windy day in 1903, that fragile plane lifted for just 12 seconds. The world didn't notice at first, but history had shifted. Today, you board an airplane and cross oceans in hours. When the first computers appeared, they were giant, clumsy machines that filled rooms. Politicians called them wasteful, newspapers called them silly toys. But a few dreamers whispered, "Someday, everyone will own one." They were laughed out of conferences. Yet now, the phone in your pocket holds more power than those massive machines combined. You use it to talk, to learn, to navigate, to connect with strangers on the other side of the planet. Do you see the pattern? Every invention that defined your life today was once laughed at. Every breakthrough that feels ordinary now was once a dream no one believed in. And this is the first lesson the future is already teaching us. The impossible is only impossible until it becomes real. But the speed of change today is unlike anything humanity has ever faced. Artificial intelligence is not waiting in the shadows, it is here. AI writes books, paints pictures, diagnoses diseases, drives cars. It learns, adapts, and grows faster than humans can imagine. Doctors use AI to find cancer in scans. Translators use AI to connect languages instantly. Businesses use AI to predict markets and automate jobs. Some say it will be the greatest tool ever created. Others say it will destroy humanity. Which one is true? Perhaps both. The question is not whether machines will grow smarter. They already are. The question is whether we will grow wise enough to guide them. A knife can cook or kill. Fire can warm or burn. AI is no different. It is not the tool that matters, but the hands that hold it. And while we wrestle with machines, the sky above us calls. For centuries, humans stared at the stars and dreamed. Myths and stories were written about gods and heroes living among them. But in 1969, a human boot pressed into the dust of the moon, and for the first time, the impossible became possible. That small step reminded us that Earth is not the limit. If we can reach the moon, we can reach beyond. Today, reusable rockets land on Earth like arrows from heaven. Satellites blanket the planet, bringing internet even to the remotest villages. Mars is no longer fantasy. Scientists and entrepreneurs are planning real journeys, real colonies, real futures beyond Earth. But why? Isn't Earth enough? The truth is, Earth is fragile. One asteroid, one nuclear war, one unstoppable climate disaster, and humanity could vanish. To secure our species, we must look beyond. Not to escape Earth, but to ensure survival. Yet space is not just expensive, it is political. Nations compete, companies battle, critics mock. It feels like a dream too far, until you remember that everything humanity has ever achieved once felt the same. But before we dream of new worlds, we must care for the one we already have. Climate change is not a theory. It is reality. Forests are burning, ice is melting, storms grow stronger each year. Billions of lives are at risk. Some deny it, some ignore it, but the evidence is clear. Our planet is crying. And the irony is bitter, we caused this, but we also hold the tools to fix it. Solar energy, wind farms, electric cars, clean agriculture. The solutions exist. The question is not whether we can. The question is whether we will dot, and this is where the story turns toward you. Because humanity's fate has never depended only on leaders, billionaires, or scientists. It has always depended on ordinary people. On the teacher who chooses to inspire. On the student who chooses to learn. On the worker who chooses honesty over corruption. On the dreamer who chooses to keep going when failure feels final. The future is not built in giant leaps. It is built in small steps, one decision at a time. You might think your choices are too small to matter, but history proves otherwise. One woman refusing to give up her seat on a bus lit a fire of justice. One girl demanding education shook governments. One man staring at the stars changed the course of human history. Ordinary people making extraordinary choices. That is how the world changes. And so here we are, standing at the edge of two possible futures. One future is bright. Machines working for humanity, clean energy healing our planet. Humans exploring the stars, children growing up in peace. The other future is dark. Machines controlling humanity, climate disasters consuming cities, wars fought over water and food, fear replacing hope. Both futures are real. Both futures are possible. Which one we reach depends on what we do now. The story of humanity is not finished. It is still being written, and you hold the pen. The future is not waiting for tomorrow. It is being built today, in the shadow that follows humanity. We see the shining towers of success, the rockets that rise into the sky, the cars that drive without fuel, the devices that connect billions. But what we do not see is the long road of broken pieces, sleepless nights, shattered dreams, and bitter defeats that built those towers. Every great invention, every step forward, was not born out of comfort, but out of relentless struggle. And yet, it is through those struggles that progress found its way. Imagine the early days of space exploration. Today, the world watches reusable rockets land perfectly, and people cheer as if it were easy. But go back just a few decades, and the reality was fire, failure, and ridicule. Rockets collapsed on launch pads. They exploded in midair, scattering millions of dollars in seconds. Engineers worked through nights, only to watch their dreams burn in flames. Governments pulled funding. Critics wrote mocking headlines, and friends whispered, "It can't be done." But failure was not the end. Failure was the teacher. Every mistake revealed a lesson, every explosion a map toward success. And then came the moment when one rocket, born from the lessons of 3 failures, finally touched the stars. That victory did not erase the pain of failure, but it proved that the courage to try again is stronger than the fear of defeat. This truth echoes in medicine as well. Today, vaccines and treatments save millions of lives, and we barely think of them. But behind every cure was a long history of trial and error. Scientists watched animals die in experiments, families lose loved ones, and the world doubt their work. But they kept going. They buried their failures not in shame but in knowledge. And with every setback they whispered, "Try again, but try differently." That whisper became the heartbeat of progress. Without it, humanity would still be crushed by diseases that are now easily prevented. History is filled with such battles. At the end of the 19th century, 2 visions of electricity fought for dominance. Thomas Edison insisted on direct current, while Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse promoted alternating current. Edison used fear to fight, even staging gruesome public experiments to make Tesla's system look dangerous. For years, the public was divided, investors were afraid, and progress seemed stalled. But courage and persistence carried the day, and alternating current lit up cities, powered factories, and gave birth to the modern world. The struggle was brutal, but the outcome changed everything. This is what we often forget. Struggles are not barriers meant to stop us. They are gates we must push open. But opening them requires courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward despite fear. Picture the Wright brothers again, standing on a windy field with a fragile wooden machine. Every attempt ended in failure, crashes, and bruises. Newspapers laughed at their dream of flying. But on one December morning in 1903, their plane lifted off the ground for 12 seconds. The world barely noticed. Yet history had shifted forever. Today, millions of people fly across the planet daily. Each takeoff is still repeating their message. Courage builds futures, and courage is not only for inventors. Ordinary people with no stage and no fame have also written history. Rosa Parks, a quiet woman on a bus, refused to give up her seat. That single act of defiance sparked movements that shook entire nations. Malala, a young girl who demanded education, was silenced with violence. Yet her voice grew louder, inspiring millions across the world. Every day, nameless workers, teachers, farmers, and students make choices that never make headlines, but still shape the lives of generations. History is not only about the powerful. It is about the ordinary multiplied by billions. But courage does not live in isolation. It is always tested by resistance. And the greatest resistance does not come from nature, but from politics. Politics is the invisible storm that every dream must survive. For every scientist trying to cure disease, there is a politician questioning the budget. For every entrepreneur building renewable energy, there are industries fighting to protect oil. For every young voice asking for change, there are laws designed to silence. Progress does not live in peace. It lives in conflict. Look at climate change. Scientists have shouted warnings for decades. The evidence is undeniable, the risks catastrophic. Yet governments delay, corporations deny, and leaders debate while forests burn and seas rise. Agreements are signed with smiles, then broken with excuses. Protesters fill the streets, demanding action, while industries continue to pollute. It feels like screaming into the wind. And yet, even here, there are victories. Cities that switch to renewable power. Countries that ban fossil fuel cars. Inventors who create clean technologies that threaten old empires. Change is not fast, but it is real. Progress always begins as a whisper before it grows into a roar. Artificial intelligence faces the same storm. Some nations fear it, banning tools, restricting research. Others race to control it, to weaponize it, to monopolize its power. Meanwhile, ordinary people experiment with AI to write, to draw, to learn, to create. The storm of politics may delay, but it cannot stop the sunrise. The choice is whether we will guide AI to serve humanity or allow greed and fear to twist it against us. This is the heart of every struggle. Progress asks, who is willing to continue? Because the world is filled with people who stop at the first sign of resistance. It is filled with those who quit when mocked, when doubted, when blocked. But history remembers the few who refuse to stop. Success is not built by those who never fall. It is built by those who rise after every fall. Think of Elon Musk in 2008. Tesla was weeks from bankruptcy. SpaceX had burned millions on rockets that failed, and even his friends told him to give up. Newspapers called him foolish. He admitted he had one launch left before everything collapsed. That final rocket flew. NASA signed a contract. The dream was saved. People only remember the success, but the truth is that success was balanced on the edge of ruin. One more failure, and the story would have ended differently. But he did not quit, and that choice rewrote history. This pattern repeats across time. Success is never clean. It is messy, chaotic, painful. It demands sacrifice. Families are neglected, nights are sleepless. Failures pile higher than victories. And yet, for those who endure, the reward is not just personal. It is collective. Airplanes were not only for the Wright brothers. Electricity was not only for Edison and Tesla. Vaccines were not only for the scientists who made them. Every invention that survives belongs to all of us. And this is where the story circles back to you. Because humanity's progress is not only in the hands of a few famous figures. It is in the hands of billions of small, invisible decisions. Your decision to learn instead of giving up. Your decision to stay honest when corruption seems easier. Your decision to risk when safety is tempting. These choices may feel small, but they are not. When multiplied, they build the world. So the question for all of us is not whether the future will change. Of course it will. The question is, who will shape it? Will it be shaped by greed and fear, or by courage and wisdom? Will it be shaped by those who quit, or by those who endure? The future will not remember our doubts. It will remember our choices. And this is where the struggle turns into possibility. Because for all our failures, for all our mistakes, humanity has always found a way to rise. The fire of progress never dies. It only waits for those willing to carry 2100. The air is clean, powered by endless sunlight and wind. Cities glow not with smoke, but with green life. Vertical gardens rising up towers, rivers running clear again. Machines work silently beside humans, not replacing but enhancing, taking away the heavy burdens of survival and leaving time for art, for family, for discovery. Children sit in classrooms where teachers are assisted by AI tutors, each student learning at their own pace, no child left behind. Rockets leave Earth as easily as airplanes once did, carrying families to Mars, where new towns rise beneath domes and the human story stretches across planets. That is one future. Now open your eyes again and imagine another. The air is thick, skies are gray, storms crash against coasts where cities once stood. Millions wander as refugees, searching for food and water. Forests are gone. Oceans rise higher every year, and wars break out over what remains. Artificial intelligence is not serving humanity, but controlling it, deciding who works, who eats, who survives. The gap between rich and poor has become a canyon, where a few live in luxury and the rest struggle in shadows. People are no longer masters of technology. They are prisoners of it. That is another future. Both of these futures are real. Both are possible. Which one we reach depends not on luck, but on choices, your choices, my choices as a species. That is the truth hidden in plain sight. The future is not something that happens to us. The future is something we create, one decision at a time. Think of the inventions already unfolding. Fusion energy, the dream of capturing the power of the stars, is being tested in labs. If it succeeds, humanity will have clean, limitless power, enough to run the world without burning a single drop of oil. Quantum computers are emerging, machines so powerful they can solve problems in seconds that would take ordinary computers centuries. Genetic editing is advancing, tools that can erase diseases before they begin. Repairing human bodies at the level of DNA. These are not fantasies. They are being built right now. They carry the potential to turn Earth into a paradise, but they also carry dangers. The same power that cures can also divide, creating a world where the wealthy engineer themselves into strength, while the poor are left behind. Artificial intelligence is the same. It can write, create, heal, and protect. But it can also replace, manipulate, and control. Already, we see jobs changing, industry shifting, society struggling to adapt. What happens when machines become so advanced that they no longer need us? Will we shape them into partners, or will we build our own masters? The answer lies not in the machine, but in us, and this is where values become more important than intelligence. Knowledge builds the tool, but wisdom decides how it is used. The light bulb, the airplane, the computer, each one could have been used for harm as easily as for good. What protected us was not the invention itself, but the values of the people who used it. The same will be true for AI, for genetics, for energy, for every tool we build. Our survival will not be decided only by our brains, but by our hearts. But here is the part most people forget. You are not powerless. You are not a spectator sitting in the stands of history. You are a player on the field. The choices you make every day ripple outward. The decision to learn instead of giving up, to tell the truth instead of hiding behind lies, to care for the planet instead of wasting it, to create instead of destroy. These are the choices that shape the world. They may feel small in the moment, but they are not. Because multiplied by billions, they built the future. Remember the boy who coded a simple game at age 12 and sold it for a few dollars. That boy was Elon Musk, and his small choice to keep learning eventually shaped entire industries. Remember the brothers who lifted a fragile airplane for just 12 seconds? They changed transportation forever. Remember the girl who raised her voice for education when bullets tried to silence her? She inspired millions. History is filled with proof that one decision, even when the world is against you, can echo across centuries. Now the echo is waiting for you. Because the truth is, your life is also made of choices. Maybe you feel small, maybe you feel invisible, but so did every person who ever changed the world. The difference between those who make history and those who fade into it is one decision. The decision to try. So imagine the next time you face doubt. The next time you feel failure whispering that it's over. The next time critics laugh at your dream. Remember that humanity's story has always been written by those who refuse to stop. Success is not built by those who never fail. It is built by those who rise after every failure. The future of humanity is not in the hands of destiny. It is in the hands of dreamers, fighters, learners, and believers. It is in your hands. And so, as this story ends, here is the lesson it leaves behind. Success is never an accident. It does not arrive by luck or chance. It is hidden in choices. One decision can change a life. One decision can change a family. One decision can change the world. The choice to continue when you want to quit. The choice to believe when doubt surrounds you. The choice to prepare today for tomorrow. Your decision may feel small, to study 1 more hour, to be honest when no one is watching, to take one risk instead of hiding in safety. But these small choices are not small at all. They are the seeds of the future. The world you will live in tomorrow depends on the choices you make today. So ask yourself now, what choice will you make? Will you step forward with courage or hide in fear? Will you write your own story or let someone else write it for you? The future does not belong to the strongest, the richest, or the loudest. The future belongs to those who choose, those who act, those who refuse to give up. And if you have listened this far, then maybe you are one of them. Maybe your decision begins now. This is English Story Haven, where every story is not just for listening, but for learning, for living, and for changing your life.